What are you doing in my house?
Silksong.
Why? Sea of Sorrow isn't even out yet. There's no reason to.
So, Silksong, huh? Yeah, I'm making more Silksong Pokemon. This is my third time doing this, so if you want to see more of my Silksong Pokemon, you should go check those out too. I don't really want to write an intro, so let's just get into it. Going in order of least to most spoilery, we have Lace. And immediately we're getting into spoiler territory. I've actually already made a design for Lace almost a year ago for Silksong's release, being a regional form of Roserade. But then we didn't really know much about her other than she was in the game. But now that the game is out and we know a lot more about her story, plus me growing as an artist since then, I decided to do a completely new and original design. Lace was made by Farloom's monarch, Grandmother Silk, to be a loyal child after her previous ones built a city to put her to sleep. How she did this was to give her a mind and body of a child forever. So yeah, thirsting over her makes you a bad person. Lace is also made entirely out of silk, so to reference this, I wanted her body to look like a small child's toy, something like a doll of sorts. On top of that, her skinny torso and the two discs on her neck and waist bring to mind a spool of thread, with her arms and legs looking like loose threads. On top of that, the head is meant to look like a big ball of yarn, again with the pigtail bits resembling bits that have come loose, as well as Lace's actual weirdly croissant-shaped head. For a little bit, I considered adding her pin through her head to make it look like a pin cushion, but I decided against it because it made the whole design just a bit too cluttered, as well as adding a more sharp and dangerous looking element to an otherwise soft and playful design. And while Lace herself isn't exactly a soft character, she offers and tries to kill Hornet the first time they meet, she's definitely playful, treating her confrontations with Hornet as a game. One last little detail I really enjoy is that her pigtails very vaguely resemble butterflies, referencing her connection to the silk flies when we first meet her, and potentially being the one to free Hornet at the beginning of the game with a silk fly as an act of rebellion against her mother. Overall, I think this is a super effective design and manages to convey all of the points I wanted to pretty well, on top of obviously being its own thing. Chilace, from Child and Lace, a fairy type with the ability Trace. This Pokemon was born when a soul was given to a spool of thread. They are extremely mischievous and enjoy pulling pranks. They are also known to disobey their trainer's commands if their bond is not strong enough. Its silk can be used to mend wounds. A mischievous and often cruel Pokemon, it has been seen strangling small Pokemon to near death, then releasing them just before they pass, laughing all the way. They rarely imprint on anyone and require years for one to trust you, even a little bit. Its defenses are particularly low as a reference to how silken beings like Lace and Phantom are described as fragile and frail. And the shinies are reference to, of course, Lost Lace. Moving on to a true Weaver, we have Widow. This is one of my favorite characters in the whole game. I just think that her lore is fascinating, her design is cool, her boss fight is fun, and her theme music is among the best in the franchise. That's why I use it in my videos so much. Unlike many of the characters in this video, I immediately knew what type this one would be. Bug and Dart. Bug is obvious, every character in the Hollow Knight franchise is called a bug, but I only like making the characters that are based on specific bugs, bug type. That works here as all the Weavers are explicitly stated to be spiders. Dark is a bit more complicated. I guess it's just vibes, so at the same time, being a manipulator is represented as Dark in Pokemon, kinda like Malamar. And when you find her, she is literally puppeting the citizens of Bellheart by stringing them up in silk, and when you find her, she's playing a song on this silk. Wait a minute. In fact, it's upon beating her that you get the needle in, literally the Silksong. For this reason, I kind of went for a long and slender design that reflects her design. I obviously had to incorporate her flowing face, I guess? I decided to make this look like a paper bag pulled over the face, which is ironic considering that in lore she actually lost her mask. In Hollow Knight terms, this is the equivalent of having your face ripped off. On top of this, the two spikes in front of the bag are meant to look like spider mandibles. But you may be thinking, what's up with that body shape? That doesn't look like a spider. And that's right, it's not exactly a spider. In fact, it also takes inspiration from a giraffe weevil. Because Weevil sounds like a weaver. And that's it. That's the whole reason. For a few final design ideas, there's the pin in the tail to reference how the pins in Widow's back restrict her silk production, and the 6 eyes to reference the weaver's 6 eyes. Arachnest, from Arachnid and Nest, a bug and dark type with the ability Insomnia and the hidden ability Shed Skin. This Pokemon can use its strands of silk to control the movements of others. They use this to make smaller Pokemon bring food to Arachnest against their will. Although it will not produce silk quickly, it uses this ability sparingly. It covers its face in a thick webbing. Why it does this is unknown. Some say that it's to protect its head, while others say that it's ashamed of its appearance. Either way, it will do anything to keep this mask up. They are rather cruel. Moving on to another one of Grandmother Silk's real children, we have Phantom. For this one I had a really interesting idea, which is to make Phantom a counterpart to Lace. They already kind of are in game. One has a light color scheme while the other is darker. They both use pins as weapons, and, of course, they're both silken children of Grandmother Silk. But while one was loved, the other was forced to go work in Farland's waste facility. Go ahead and put Grandmother Silk up for Parent of the Year alongside the Pale King. So this Pokemon is going to have a very similar build to Lace, but obviously with some differences. While Chalace is all prim, proper, and clean, this one will be much more raggedy and torn, with it having one less end to the silk spool, leading to its silky body unraveling, kind of how it looks in game. This alongside the chip taken out of the end of its silk spool it does have, the feral hair and the arms look like split ends or fraying rope makes this Pokemon look a whole lot scrappier than its counterpart. Although this does come at the cost of this one being noticeably more complex, making the two seem a bit less like equals. However, I did try to keep the proportions the same, so hopefully it still works. The pose is exactly the same as the reference image of Phantom I used, minus the pin. And of course, I took a little chunk out of the mask to show the Phantom of the Opera inspiration that Phantom already has. I mean, she plays the organ, has a disability, wears a porcelain mask, and is literally named Phantom. How much more obvious can you get? Fantangle, from Phantom and Tangle, a ghost type with the ability Trace. A soul was given to a broken and worn spool of thread and became this Pokemon. Its body is fragile and requires large amounts of silk or thread to restore. Because of this, it has been known to actively hunt Tarantula. Because of this, they are also rather irate. Its body is a broken and deteriorating spool of silk. It requires constant repairs in order to keep going. The shed silk from this Pokemon can be attached to instruments to create beautifully haunting melodies, although they will break soon after. Its shiny is a reference to the Wraiths of the Mist, but it also comes full circle. It has a white shiny to reference Lace, and Lace has a black shiny to reference Phantom, on top of their main inspirations. Going back to the Weavers, we have my personal favorite boss of the game, First Center. Although just because it's my favorite boss doesn't mean it's my favorite design to come up with. I struggled to make a concept for First Center for a long time. I tried a Guardian Angel, but the design didn't work, and also it made no sense. I thought about making it relate to the slab, where she can be found, but that didn't work either. I even tried to do something with her Rune Rage ability, but nothing seemed to work. Then I asked a friend of mine for help, and he suggested a crystal ball with the little carpet underneath it resembling a dress. This was perfect because not only did it make perfect sense for First Sinner, but I also just need more practice drawing Objectmon, so it's kind of like hitting two birds with one stone. It took me a little while to get the dress cloth down, but I got it eventually. I really like how I did the head, especially the rendering of it. I made extra sure to make sure I got every little detail of the crystal ball head down to make it look extra crystal-like. The black spiked bits look like the shoulder spikes. Or are those her arms? Or an extension of the ribs, maybe? Anyways, I made those things look like the pedestal holding up the crystal ball. While not exact counterparts like Lace and Phantom, this one and our Widow Pokemon would be semi-counterparts, kind of like version exclusives if this were a game. Pokemon Silk and Soul, I guess. They do have some things that relate to each other, like the eyes and spiky black bits, but the biggest comparison is that Arachnist is monochrome with a colorful shiny, while this one is colorful in the base form with a monochrome shiny. Just fun little details like that are what make this whole thing feel more connected. I was originally going to make the Lace and Phantom Pokemon evolve into the Widow and First Sinner Pokemon, but I decided not to because a huge part of the lore of Silksong is that the Weavers were not Grandmother Silk's real children, instead just being elevated Farlids, while Phantom and Lace are her real kids. I really like the strange eyes they gave this Pokemon. I've always struggled with giving my Fakemon really unique eyes, kind of defaulting to a few different styles, but this is the first time I've really experimented with it. Here is Orithist, from Oracle and Amethyst, a pure psychic type with the abilities Clear Body, Own Tempo, and the hidden ability Anger Point, as a reference to her Needle in dialogue saying, "Our rage, weight, and hate, sustained by fury," as well as you gaining the ability rune Rage after beating her. A long-forgotten crystal ball come to life. Whether it was through ritual or a ghost Pokemon inhabiting it, none are certain. Using its immense psychic powers, it can create blazing runes that wreak havoc on the battlefield, as well as being able to see a few minutes into the future. Once an instrument of a widespread group of oracles, though this group has long since passed. Because of this Pokemon is fueled by its hatred for those who left it. They can see small glimpses into the future and summon devastating spells. Finally, the Monarch herself, Grandmother Silk. For this one, I had a super interesting idea. Plenty of Pokemon have split evolutions, being able to evolve into one of two or more Pokemon. Think Kirlia evolving into Gardevoir or Gallade, Charcadet evolving into Armarouge or Ceruledge, or Eevee evolving into 7 cute dogs and 1 Reddit bait. I'm just kidding, I love Vaporeon. Anyways, we still have plenty of split evolutions, but what about a converging evolution? No, not like that. I mean, what if there's 2 separate and distinct Pokemon that can each evolve into the same one Pokemon? Of course, this would make no sense if they're biological beings. Why would 2 unrelated animals evolve into the same animal separately? Oh damn. So our Lace and Phantom Pokemon would both be able to evolve into our Grandmother Silk Pokemon. And while those 2 would be fairly rare but not unheard of, this evolution would be near legendary status. As for this design, well, it's definitely the most faithful. Its proportions are pretty much the same, its face is pretty much the same as well, but you can see one closed eye rather than just no facial features. I gave it 2 legs rather than the weird 1 leg, as well as making them resemble scissors to keep with the sewing theme. It was really tricky making it look like a Pokemon that could reasonably evolve from both Lace and Phantom. Lace already looks like a tiny Grandmother Silk, but Phantom looks completely different. I mostly managed this by giving some parts darker colors, like the torso, arms, and streaks of hair. I also used the pointy hair of Phantom to make her halo. I really like how her arms are attached in the crossed arm pose like she is in her boss fight, as well as looking like she's cradling a baby, relating to Silksong's whole theme of motherhood. Believe it or not, this is actually my first go at making a legendary Pokemon. Aside from my first Hollow Knight video, where I tried the Radiance, but we don't talk about that. And this one's fine. It's not quite imposing enough, and that might just be me. In fact, I think it actually looks more like a final stage starter than a legendary, but that's alright. So if you give either a Chilace or Fantangle the Ancient Pin, it will evolve into Nurseleer, from Nurture, Nursery, Silk, Silence, and Shears, being another word for scissors. I'm really proud of this name if you can't tell. A fairy and ghost type with the ability Monarch. A near unheard of evolution for both Chilace and Fantangle, spurred by an ancient artifact. Upon evolution, it has gained total control over spirits and can use its Silk to control hundreds of individuals' every move all at once. It rarely makes a sound or moves unless instructed. Nurseleer has total dominion over fairy and ghost magic. They can use this to control every living soul in a 100-mile radius to do their bidding. Because of this, all other Nurselir were sealed a long time ago and the item to evolve them all destroyed. All but one, that is. The ability Monarch makes all Pokemon except for the user become confused when it hits the field, as if it's controlling them. Functionally, it's kinda reminiscent of Poison Puppeteer, which is fitting since Grandmother Silk is literally puppeting her subjects with strings. And that's all from me. Hopefully Sea of Sorrow decides to come out soon so this video doesn't seem completely out of place. Who knows, maybe it comes out a day after this video goes up and I'm seen as a prophet. Or it comes out on December 31st at 11:59 PM, in which case the Team Cherry headquarters would probably be burnt down. Anyways, I'll see you next time for a very special video. But for now, see ya!